Good evening, everyone. It's June the 5th, approximately around 5:30. You know where I am, at the Adventure Tower. It's better. I was not able to do my greetings the way I wanted to. It just wasn't meant to be that day. There was too much going on. And also, I didn't like the way I looked with, I will post it, but tell me how I look, which way I look better. I got my hair nice and groomed, and also I needed to freshen up a little bit, and also it was just so packed and so crowded, so it wasn't meant to be. But I'm greeting everyone now, and also to give a quick outline. I'm learning. I've been experienced more how to leave my messages. So I wanted to do my music story, but it just wasn't happening. So that's okay. I got that posted from a few weeks ago when I was here, and from a year ago when I was sitting right here, in fact, telling my story. So I'm going to talk about forgiveness. It's coming. It's coming. That's the next attraction. There was just so much that I wanted to say and so much that was going on. I wasn't able to get, I can't multitask. I can only do one thing at a time. But I'm figuring out, because I got so much to say as far as forgiveness is concerned, that I'm trying to break it down in 4 parts. So here's a quick outline. And especially this was good timing because Rigoletto at the LA Opera had just opened a new production. And that whole opera is based on forgiveness, that whole theme. And I want to be able to see how I can break it down in 5 minutes to tell the story of Rigoletto in a way that everyone can relate to what we were talking about in earlier recordings, how to talk about things to be more relatable. But I wanted to break it down in several parts because there's several different things going on here. And then also to give an explanation of when I was here the other day, and you'll see it on the videos that I had posted, or you will see it. Because what I call the C's or the K's, however you want, the kids, Catherine's influence, and the 2 questions that I felt that God was asking me about making a choice, which has been a game changer in helping me let go of a lot of the anger and a lot of the resentment over stuff that had happened. So I want to clear up some misunderstandings here, because the question will be, well, why did you bring it up? Why did you bring it up, the situation from Torrance? Because I was using those kids as an example. And it turned out to actually work out better, because when it was raining that day, and when I was here, that reminded me of the kids. And the kids, that's how God was dealing with me. It was, I think it was 11 years ago now. 11 years ago. That was 23 years after the situation in Torrance. We'll just call it the spin cycle. The merry-go-round going around in circles for a couple of hours. So what has helped me in disarming a lot of the anger and a lot of the resentment at that time was Catherine's influence. And then also, I'll get into that in just a few moments, and with the kids. And because when I had found that recording, and just Google, You Poked My Heart, where it's the 2 kids, the 2 sisters that are going, they're probably teenagers now and probably all married and grown up and watching the video of themselves when they were tiny little munchkins, but they were 5 years old at that time. And it was in daycare, and they're going back and forth and back and forth. Let me see if I can imitate it. My mommy said it's sprinkling. My mommy said it's raining. It's sprinkling. It's raining. No, it's raining. Let's go outside and see. And then he says, "You're real. You're pretty, but you're real. You're not real. I'm real." Just Google "You Poked My Heart." You'll see it. And then they're going back and forth, and you can see how it's kind of escalating. And then the girl just taps him like this. And then he gets all into a diva mode, into a male diva mode. And he says, "You poked," I'm imitating it now. Don't call 911, I'm imitating it now. "You poked my heart." And he broke down crying. So I had one of those God moments where God was helping me to overcome a lot of that anger at that time and to let go of the anger. It's still a process. Things keep coming up and then handing it to God. But at that time, I was using that as an example, that it was like the spiritual lessons with those kids. It was like, and I hope I can say this right because it's a little bit tongue twisted, but the spiritual lessons, you never ask the weatherman. They they don't know anything. It was raining the other day. So you never check the weather, never ask the weather, ask mom. Because mommy says it's sprinkling, sprinkling. It's raining. And also, it was one of those God moments where, if I can say this right, it was like God was saying, Stefka, the way that you're laughing at those kids and how they're funny, and they're arguing for a few minutes, that's the way that looked like, the Holy Spirit talking, that's the way that looked like to me when you and the party, where there was that circle going around in circles, and that was for 2 hours in Torrance and front. I can't even remember it now, whether it was the Sheraton or the Marriott. There's still just some trauma and some memory blocks there, but right across the street from Del Amo Mall, and it was like God's way of saying, it was one of those things where it was God's way of saying, look at it from this point of view, and to maybe even make me laugh a little bit. But it wasn't funny at that time, where God's saying, this is the way you two look like to me, the way that those kids look like to you. So I was using that as an example. And number one. Number two, also about because comparisons and contrasts cannot be avoided. It's stuck together, it's bonded together, because there will always be even a residue where I can forgive someone if they throw dirt and garbage on my carpet, and to get the carpet cleaning company and get it all cleaned up, but there will still be that slight residue there to deal with, and I find myself sometimes dealing with that because there's still the comparison. Because when I compare one situation and then when I compare with Catherine, a lot of the insanity that had gone on in the setups and the stuff that had happened that never happened with Catherine, number one. Number two, and it was about taking responsibility. And I want to make that very clear so that it wouldn't turn out that it's everyone's fault except me. If I got a nickel every time I heard that phrase, and especially from my mom and other friends, well, you were so upset, you were so hurt, and this happened, and that happened. And the moment I stepped into the meeting with Torrance and with Frank, everything went wrong. And then my late mom used to say, why were you, if I can imitate her, in Serbian, it sounds better in Serbian, zašto si bila tu? Tebi nije bilo mesto tu. To nije tvoje društvo. Why were you there? That's not your company. Why were you there? If I got a nickel every time I heard that, I'd be able to go to Disney World. And it's like, again, back then, it was a different mentality, because back then I was so trusting and so naive, and where I found myself in prayer lines and situations that I didn't know how to deal with, because of having been hurt and vulnerable and all of that, that I take responsibility. I want to make that very clear so that it wouldn't turn out that I'm just placing the blame. As we say in Serbian, da ne bi spalo da svako je drugi kriv sam ja. So it wouldn't turn, it sounds better in Serbian, so it wouldn't turn out that it's everyone's fault except mine. I take responsibility. That's what I was trying to say. That I shouldn't have been there. I shouldn't have been in that prayer line scene in that situation. And then also I should have known how to put on the brakes and to be able to walk away. Just where, if, my goodness, if that's what that looked like to God, the way that that situation went on in circles for 2 hours, if this is what it looked like, just a couple minutes with those kids arguing back and forth and being mad one moment and hugging and making up the next moment, how must have that looked like to God when that situation was going around in circles? What does it mean? And going around in circles and going nowhere, what that must have looked like to God. So, but God was helping me to be able to overcome that anger. Things still come up, residue still comes up, like we just saw the other day when it was raining. But that had helped disarm a lot of the anger and a lot of resentment that those kids, Catherine, and what I call the question, which was one of those game changer God moments. Choosing between one or the other, and then the kids, and then Catherine's influence. But now there's still comparison and contrast, yes, to put it in God's hands and surrender it and everything. There's still the contrast and the comparison, and I'm still trying to maneuver how to work forgiveness around that situation where it's that contrast and comparison that cannot be totally avoided. Okay, I need to take a break to show off my beautiful Disney shirt. I think the lighting is better here. I didn't like the way the lighting fell on me. I looked kind of goofy. Disney. So I think, and also it was just like not meant to be, between the rain, between the fact that it was packed, and also, so this, and I'm more chill and I'm more relaxed, so it was meant to be for me to be here today. And I will take a break and, and to go on what I'm trying to do, because I can't multitask, I have to stay organized, is to talk about forgiveness related to August 10th, 85, especially this being the 40th anniversary. And that situation, and Carol talking to you, this is it. This is how forgiveness, this is it. What we've been waiting for, to answer the question, have I forgiven? And we'll call him Giorgio Germont and Company, where he and the family were the speaker that night at the same time when you and Dan were the speaker. So what I said before, it converged, it's overlapped. I will answer that, I promise you, but my mouth is dry. Maybe that's too much information. I got to take a break, but I will talk about that. And then I want to go into the second part, which is more how forgiveness plays into the contrast, the comparison, and also with the question. The question when God was saying, choose between one or the other, and then, woman, why are you so angry? The second question. That was also a game changer. And I will be back in a few moments. God bless you.